What is good, y'all? This is Jayvee here, and today I have a special episode for you guys. We got Jayvee's Jams number 3. I can't believe this is the 3rd one already, and I'm really excited to, see the response from the first 2, that you guys really enjoy it, because this is a segment that I really been wanting to do for a very long time, just incorporating what I've been listening to and sharing some artists with you guys, and vice versa in the comment section below, things that you guys want me to check out. So let's just get started. At this point, if you haven't watched the first 2, go check those out. But you know how it goes. I go through like 5-6 albums that I've been listening to and basically tell you a little bit about them, and then go, with some suggestions that if you have some extra time to check out some. So let's just get started with the first one. And again, I have my phone, so if you keep seeing me looking down, this is just me going through the different notes I have pulled up. So first we got Disclosure's Caracal. Now if you're not familiar with them, they're English, English like deep house, experimental house, acid house kind of group. They put together, this is their second full-length LP if I'm not mistaken, and I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of late to them. I was familiar when Latch came out in 2012, but I didn't catch wind until 2013, 2014, when it really broke into the mainstream. And ever since that point, I continued. I didn't just stop at Latch. Like, a lot of people knew about Latch because they, got that heavy radio play. But I did continue, paying attention to them well after that. And then, when they started dropping their songs with, Quabs and Sam Smith, I was like, yo, there's something real great going on here. And then when they dropped that song with Lord, which is obviously one of my favorite songs on the album, for sure. I'm a huge Lord fan. And Pure Heroin, I love that album. So when I heard she was gonna be on the album, I finally heard the song, I was like, yo, these guys are killing it right now. So this album's absolutely fantastic. If you're a fan of deep house like me, and definitely that 90s house kind of feel to it, definitely pick it up. I mean, you got a great set list here. Miguel's on it, Weekend's on it, Sam Smith is on it again, Quabs, Lord. I mean, the track list goes on and on. A lot of other artists, UK artists that I'm not super familiar with. Also, they utilize vocals from, they're a brother tag team, Disclosure. And I can't remember their names offhand, but one of the brothers actually does deliver some great vocals on a couple tracks on this album. So I was actually really surprised by that, because again, I wasn't there when their first album came out, so I didn't really know what to expect from a full body of work from Disclosure. But I was actually very surprised and happy at how great the album is. I did listen to a couple of my favorite music reviewers, and they actually, some of them didn't seem to like it, and I was actually really surprised by that, because in my opinion, it was just a very solid, cohesive project that I've been bumping in the car on the daily, whether it's morning or afternoon. To me, it fits the aesthetic, because there's just so many sides to this album, especially with that really diverse array of features on it. So definitely check it out. Great songs. That song Omen with Sam Smith, when I saw Sam Smith, I was like, uh-oh, they're gonna try to recreate the magical Latch, and we're gonna get ourselves another recycled track. But no, they went in a different direction with Omen that I absolutely love. So shout out to them. Omen's my favorite song on the album, but I also like Moving Mountains too. So that's Disclosure's Caracal. We got the second album, Ghostface Killah with Adrian Younge, 12 Reasons to Die. Now, if you're a 90s hip-hop fan like me, and you definitely like the conceptual albums that Ghostface Killah has been putting out, this is the album for you. This is the best body of work I've heard from him in a minute. He's gotten progressively better. This is his 3rd album that he's dropped, even though some of them are collaborative efforts. And I don't even know, less than a year, he's dropped 3 projects, starting out with his Ghostface Killah's 36 Seasons, which I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wasn't that big a fan of. Just everything, the instrumental, I thought it was kind of a snoozer, to be honest. His bars were on point, but I just didn't find the story that engaging, and the interludes were kind of boring. It was just kind of a boring album for me, but it was good. I mean, it's Ghostface, so you can always expect that he won't put out anything that's straight shit. No, it's a good album, but it was kind of a snoozer, especially in the kind of how much the huge body of work he's put out in his entire discography. It was one of the lower, albums he's put out. But then he followed up with a collaborative effort with Bad Bad Not Good called Sour Soul. That I was like, oh my god, this album is fantastic. The only complaint, I was like, it's too short. I wish I had more of it. And that's not a fault of the album. That's just the magic that it leaves you wanting more. So when I heard there's another album coming out, I was like, uh-oh, it could be a hit or a miss, because 36 Seasons was a miss for me, but Sour Soul was a hit. What to expect. and especially it's 12 Reasons to Die Part 2, the follow-up from the 2013 album that I really enjoyed. So I was like, I don't know what to expect from this, but he killed it. He absolutely killed it. A great show up on there. I mean, you got RZA, Raekwon, great Wu, participation on this one, and I was just a really big fan. I was really hoping for an Inspect the Deck verse, especially since he did the Czarface thing not too long ago, and I didn't think that they're kind of that far apart. So I was hoping for an Inspect the Deck feature, which I think we got. Now I'm not gonna make any promises. But I remember offhand when I first picked up the album, I was like, God, I hope there's an Inspect the Deck feature, because if you're not familiar with me, Inspect the Deck is my favorite Wu-Tang member by far. I think his delivery, his verbiage, like everything about that guy is just A1. So I was really excited about this album. I was hoping for some participation there. But yo, Ghostface is the man, especially now with there was some beef between him and Action Bronson. The only thing I was hoping, I didn't really care about, y'all know I'm not about that drama and the outside the music shit. The only thing I was hoping is that would kind of boost a younger fan base to be like, well, who's this Ghostface guy? Because you'd be surprised, these kids do not know about like classic hip hop at all. They know about Drake and Young Thug, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I was like, I hope with this beef that hopefully people are like, well, if Action Bronson's not the first to rap like this, who was? And then they'll check out Ghostface. So I was hoping this album would, sell significantly better than the others, because maybe there's like a heightened interest in Ghostface. But yeah, fantastic album, great participation. The thing is just really cohesive to me, especially with the interludes like that. I really got that story, and man, it had an old school vibe for it, as you would expect. I mean, those like funk samples, he loves him some slow jams, he loves him some funk and some old like neo soul kind of stuff, and there was definitely that present in there, especially with that hard boom bap street New York East Coast kind of feel to it. It had it, and it's my kind of album. This is like one of my kind of albums when I think, Jarrell, what kind of hip hop do you want to listen to today? It's that kind of stuff. Third, we got The Games Documentary 2. Now, I was really apprehensive about this album. For multiple reasons. I mean, the Documentary 1 is a classic from 2005. If you're not familiar with them, West Coast MC, teamed up with Dre, put out a documentary in 2005, which was not his debut album, despite what some people think. I believe he had an album or an an EP beforehand. But I mean, it was definitely like his first like look into the world that people like became familiar with him. So, Documentary, I mean, it spawned singles like How We Do and various others. Huge fan of that album. Love that album. And so, with the Documentary 2, I was like, oh my god, that's a big, like, shoe to fill, like that, when you put that name on it. And then he released that it was going to be a double album, which I believe is split clean 19 and 19. And I was like, oh god, a double album, that could be a huge hit or a huge miss. I mean, we're talking 38 tracks here. So, I was like, oh god. And mind you, this review that I'm going to do right now is based only on part 1. I have not listened to part 2. So maybe upon listening to part 2, it could completely change my opinion. But upon listening to part 1, I really enjoyed this album. Is it Documentary 1? No, of course not. I don't think he could ever remake the magic that was that first album, because there's a certain time and place, and the impact on the culture is not something he can necessarily replicate, especially now. But hip-hop's, changed a lot. But I think he put together an incredibly cohesive project, especially spanning that many tracks. I think he kept my attention the entire time. The set list, classic game, name dropping, great feature listing. One of my favorite songs was, I think it's called Standing on Rari's with Diddy, which is the Kick in the Door from Biggie's second album. That sample, I was like, dun, 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 dun. I was like, oh my god, no way is he flipping the sample. But then I saw that Diddy was on it. I was like, okay, so he got the cosign from that side of the people, that bad boy side. But I was like, oh god, you taking on a Biggie sample. But yo, that song is bumping, and that's coming from a 90s hip hop head for sure. I love that song, man. And is it the original? Of course not. But I think he held his own in terms of those bars and the aesthetic, I put that on Paru. Like, I really enjoyed that, man. I thought the way he kind of added, the bass was put on there, and he kind of added his own spin to a classic was fantastically done and tastefully done at that. He didn't try to, the legacy of Biggie wasn't, stepped on by this song. I think it was a nice compliment to it. So yeah, definitely great project. My favorite is On Me with Kendrick, which is really early up on the album. He also has a song with Days Loaf on the end. I didn't really understand her presence on it, but that's another song that I really like. So yeah, I mean that's that Documentary 2, definitely an album to pick up. If you have not heard it yet, I highly suggest it. Fourth, and this might come to a surprise to you, we got Janet Jackson's Unbreakable. Now y'all know I'm not I'm a Jackson fan for sure, that whole clique. Michael Jackson, I'm definitely like an off the wall kind of guy. I'm like the early disco kind of funk side of that. And in terms of Janet Jackson, I mean, I dig her 80s material, but she's never been somebody that like I have in regular rotation. Not that I dislike her music by any means, it's just not necessarily the kind of direction that I usually like listen to. But I wanted to get into this album, especially, I mean, we got a classic. Her last album dropped in 2009, I believe, and I'm not sure if it came before or after her brother's death. I'm not sure. But so it's been a good like 6 years since we've gotten a body of work from her. And when I saw that, you know, she's gonna have participation from Missy, Misdemeanor, Elliott, like one of my favorite female MCs of all time, I was like, yo, this album I gotta check out. And I have to say, she put together a fantastic album for sure. I know it's doing good on the Billboard charts for sure. You know, I got a little hesitant because I wasn't sure if she was gonna do kind of and I'm trying to think, a Tyrese, or was she gonna do a Madonna? And the direction, what I mean by that is, a Tyrese, like with Black Rose, put out an album that was authentically him, and it kept up with the times in a good way, but it was still pure R&B. He stuck to his roots. He didn't try to pander to youth. And this is no shot to Madonna, but with her Rebel Heart album, that I did enjoy, don't get it wrong, but it did not feel authentically Madonna. It felt like Madonna trying to force herself into modern music, and you know what I mean? Janet did not do this. She was like, listen, this is what I do. I'm going to utilize all the resources that modern music provides in terms of certain production value and this overall sound and bass and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to stay Janet Jackson. And she did. She delivered it fantastic. I think it really held her own against her old material and modern, you know, R&B, pop, you know what I mean? It does cross that line. You know, it did get a little lengthy because I was listening to the deluxe version along with the extra Japanese track that I picked up. Japanese edition track, it's not in Japanese. But, which was a remix. But I thought it was overall a really good project. So if you're familiar with Janet Jackson material, I think you'd like this album. And if this is, you know, you're not really that familiar with her, but you would like to, you know, get to know her music, at least what her newer stuff is, I don't think this is a bad entry point necessarily, because it would be a smooth transition. Because if you're used to like modern music trends, I think there's enough of that for you to feel comfortable. But then you also get old Janet feels, so you can start working your way back, because I think maybe jumping into her 80s material might be a bit of a shock for you guys. But I think this is a great album, and this makes me excited because this is an OG kind of, you know, finally stepping back into the game. And you know, I really think this kind of revitalized and be like, if anything, yo, you can still do this. You can still put out material. There's a lot of good years you have ahead of you that you could put together some even more cohesive projects and expand that massive discography you already have. So shout out to Janet Jackson, man. She put together a fantastic album. Great. The feature list is not too dense on this, but I really just enjoyed her. You know what I mean? So the next album, 5, we got The Quiett, One Life to Live. Now, if you're not familiar with him, Korean MC, kind of part of the Illionaire Collective along with Doki. And you know, I wasn't sure what to expect. The good thing about The Quiett is that he's a versatile MC, and this is no shot to Doki. Y'all know I love Doki, but he's definitely on his swag shit right now. And he definitely has another side to him, but he's on his swag shit right now, which is quite evident with his last album. You know, the chi-cha-ga-cho, that kind of shit. But The Quiett has always had a soulful side to him. He has a melody to his voice. He has a certain way he kind of delivers. And in a way, I ain't gonna lie to you, the first time I started listening to Quiett, I was like, yo, this guy, he feels like monotone. I didn't really like him. But then after a while, his features started, like I started really feeling it. And then it really developed. I was like, yo, I like this guy. Like, I like his music. So upon this album, I was like, I don't know what to expect. Is this gonna be all swag shit? Is it gonna be that more soulful, like, you know, melodic the Quiett? Is it gonna be that lyrical the Quiett? I don't know what to expect. And I was pleasantly surprised that every side of the Quiett was present on this album. Like, this was a fantastic album. Great showing up of other MCs. They got my man, one of my favorite modern hip-hop acts over there in Korea. Benzino was on it. Of course, Doki was on it. Dope participation on their behalf, though. I really liked it. One of my favorite tracks is the one that he did with Benzino. Not My Life with Doki, but the one of just those two. I really liked that. I think they both really held their own on that. But overall, a fantastic album. Great cohesive project. That's another thing. And this is no shot to the Korean game. Y'all know I'm not trying to throw shots, but these are just my observations. Is that the Korean music game has always put out good singles, but their album game has been a little weak. You know, their utilization, there's no concept albums pretty much. And when they do put out full-length projects, it feels like a collection of singles or like a great single and a whole bunch of throwaway B-sides. So, you know, when a Korean artist puts out a great project, whether it be a BY or the Quiett or Doki, you know, it's really exciting. And I think this is, if you're not familiar with the hip-hop game over there in Korea, for all my fans who are into just American rap, check this album out, The Quiett, One Life to Live. I think you guys can get something out of it. And I know the transition to listening to music that you don't quite understand is something new, but once you're able to get past that language barrier and you really just listen to the delivery, the production, the overall aesthetic of the piece, I think you guys can take away a lot from this. And for your Korean rap fans, y'all I imagine are already on this. This album's really great, man. Shout out to the Quiett. He put out a great album. And lastly, and if you guys can't notice, I have so much saliva in my mouth right now, like I can't breathe. We got Selena Gomez, Revival. All this talking. This is the 6th album. Selena Gomez, man. She's been really hit or miss for me. She made her work with the scene, like naturally, and I believe her last album she put out with them was Year Without Rain, which I absolutely loved that song. But then she did put out a solo album that I just didn't pay any attention to be honest with you guys. I'm not a huge pop head. Like, I'm not really that much into pop music. I don't dislike it, and I listen to it, like it's on the radio, or like every once in a while I'll bump a song. But like, pop is not my forte of expertise, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know everything about pop or that I know everything about Selena Gomez. I don't, but I do know a good pop album when I hear it. And Revival is a good modern pop album. She's definitely kept with the modern music trends while maintaining something that's authentically Selena Gomez. I mean, she's never been an outstanding vocalist. Don't get it twisted. She's not sitting out there, you know, like a Sohyang or an Ailey, you know, just belting out crazy notes. She ain't no Mariah, alright? But I think she does what she does very well. The production was A1 on this album. I'm just a really big fan of that single that she puts out with Chris Brown that she has in rotation right now. And they had a remix towards the end that was actually pretty jamming. I thought it was just a really fun album to listen to. You put it in the car, you just jam to it, and I think it's something you can enjoy for sure. I mean, no real skippables on this album, and if you like their older material, you're gonna love this album. To me, this is the best project I've heard to her by date. I'm not claiming to have listened to her entire discography. It's not that, but you know, I mean, I have listened to all her stuff with the scene, and this is the first thing I've just heard her on. But I thought it was a great album for sure, man. A little lengthy, again, along with all the deluxe edition tracks. But if you listen to just the normal album, it's a really cohesive project for sure. Nothing conceptual here. No real interludes. Nothing real blowing your mind. This is not like some alt pop thing, like maybe like you'd hear from like a Curly or something like that, or some of these alternative acts. It's also not one of like a collective of singles, maybe like a Prism was, or how Prism and like Kesha's Warrior were like a great single, and then the rest are sleepers, in my opinion. This was a song that it had its main singles for sure, or songs that have single potential, but it also had a whole bunch of B-sides that I think really hold their own, in my opinion, as just, you know, album tracks. So shout out to Selena Gomez, man. She put together a really long project. Really great project, sorry. And now I have some projects that I would say that are worth mentioning, that if you have some extra time, look into. We got Troy Ave's Major Without a Deal Reloaded. Now, I know some of you guys might be apprehensive to listening to this because his album, in my opinion, was not very good, to be honest. It shouldn't have gotten shit on like it did, in my opinion. He moved like 4,600 units or something like that, and he was saying how the fact that he was a indie artist made it so it's okay to move that many units, and actually because of distribution, he's actually making mad stacks on it. I don't care about none of that, to be honest. All I know is that was not a good album, in my opinion. It wasn't like Tyga's last album that was like, oh my god, this is horrible. But I was like, all this hype, he's talking like he's the king of New York and stuff like that. This album is not. It's telling me that. But, you know, this mixtape that he put out, and it is a mixtape, though it is lengthy, you know, I think it's like 14 tracks. Well, okay, 14 tracks is not lengthy, don't get it. It felt lengthy because some of the songs were like 5-6 minutes long. But, you know, I think he put together a good project here. Solid project. It's the best I've heard Troy Ave at, so I'll give him that. Does this hold its own with a lot of the best albums out right now? Is it a Documentary 2 or a Pimp a Butterfly or a Travis Scott's Rodeo or DS2? No, not at all. Troy Ave is not doing that. But, you know, doing that, what Troy Ave does, this is an incredible step up for him. And great, you know, turnout in terms of features. I mean, 50 Cent's on it. We got, I'm trying to think. I mean, okay, the feature list, it's not that big, but who he has on it is good. A lot of New York acts, you know, he does his thing. So, yeah, man, I'm a big fan of what Troy Ave's doing. And, yeah, Jadakiss, that's who I was trying to think, who else he had on it. That's why I froze for a second. I was like, oh my god, am I not really remembering his name? Jadakiss is on the album, too, and great show out. So, and also T.I. on the second half of the remix for Real Niggas, if I'm familiar, that's what the song is named. So, yo, shout out to Troy Ave. He put together one of the best projects that I've heard him do. He's kind of having a feud with Taxstone, who's a Twitter blog. I hate, he has a podcast now called Tax Season that I'm a big fan of. And he's doing his thing right now. I'm a huge fan of Taxstone. I think he's just hilarious. And he does his thing on Twitter. So, you know, they're beefing back and forth. It's hilarious, and he has a song called Nutsacks on it. That's a diss tone. It just popped up in my head. I thought it was really funny. Next, we got Stephanie, Top Secret. Now, this album, mini album, surprised me so much. I didn't expect to hear nothing from this girl, especially from the particular medium she chose this time. Stephanie, if you remember, with The Grace from what's it called? SM a while ago, a girl group called The Grace. Stephanie was in there. And, you know, they did their thing, they faded into obscurity, and now she's back. And not only is she's back with Mafia Records, which, if you're not familiar with them, you know what's up, that group that I'm a huge fan of. What's up? Yeah, Mafia Records, she's back with. Got a Nada feature on it, which I was really surprised with. Really great project, though. I mean, it wasn't a sound that I was familiar with from Stephanie, but I think she really did her thing, and I mean, I'm really excited about what the future holds for this girl. Yeah, it's been so long since we've heard, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I did not hear that she was working on a project, especially that I don't know if she's signed to Mafia Records, but I'm assuming so if she's putting out, you know, records, you know, through their name. So she signed to Mafia. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Not that Mafia is, you know, a bad record company, but I mean, they don't have any huge groups, so I'm surprised she didn't sign with like a FNC or a JYP. Who knows who could have taken her? So I was really surprised by this project, but I think it's a great project overall. And lastly, we got Ty Dolla $ign's Airplane Mode. Now, this is kind of, I guess, a mini project that he put out basically to hold people over until his Free TC album comes out in November, which I'm not trying to give you guys a wrong date. I think offhand November 13th. Let me see. I have it here on my phone. Ty Dolla $ign. Yep. November 13th. So I mean, overall, it's a good project. And it's real short though. They're like 1.5-2 minute songs. So we're not talking about like an expansive project, but they got some real bangers on it. So if you have a little extra time, you want something to bump in the whip, and not something light, and you're a Ty Dolla $ign fan, this is definitely the album for you. Has he put out better projects? Yeah, but I think this really holds its own, and it's a fun listen. That's what I think. I think it's just a fun listen. He's talking about his typical pussy, drugs, you know, girls, you know, all the shit. Take your panties off, crazy stuff. But you know, it's Ty Dolla $ign, so he's gonna Ty Dolla $ign, and he's gonna do his thing, and I enjoyed it. So again, I'm gonna read over all the projects. This was a long episode, if you guys haven't noticed, and I'm so tired right now. We got Disclosure's Caracal, Ghostface Killah's 12 Reasons to Die, Games Documentary 2, Janet Jackson's Unbreakable, The Quiet's One Life to Live, Revival by Selena Gomez, and then worth mentioning, we got Troy Ave's Major Without a Deal Reloaded, Stephanie's Top Secret, and then Ty Dolla $ign's Airplane Mode. If you have a question about any of these albums, leave them in the comment section below, and in the description box, I'm gonna have all the albums labeled there, so if you forget which one you wanted to refer to, there they are. Till next time, this is Jayvee, this is Jayvee Jams. Let me know what's up. Bye guys, I love you.